Look, if you're a municipal procurement officer or a private waste management contractor, you already know that trying to source a heavy-duty sanitation vehicle internationally can feel a bit like navigating a maze blindfolded. Well, today we're setting the stage to completely demystify the complex pricing landscape of Chinese manufactured garbage trucks. We are going to take all the guesswork out of the 2026 strategic procurement process and show you exactly what you're paying for in this explainer.
Here is our roadmap for today's analysis. We'll start by looking beyond the sticker price. Then, we'll break down the 3 cost pillars. Estimate your fleet cost, uncover those hidden ROI drivers, and finally, wrap things up with procurement logistics. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Beyond the sticker price and looking at the actual market reality.
To frame this whole conversation, I really want to ask you a very direct question. What exactly drives a $100,000 price tag on a garbage truck? I mean, it's totally normal to have a bit of sticker shock when you see a number like that, right? But to actually be successful in procurement, we have to shift our mindset away from just that initial cash outlay and focus entirely on the total cost of ownership. Because right now, in the current market, prices for a standard waste collection vehicle manufactured in China, they can range anywhere from $15,000 to well over $100,000. And this massive variance isn't just arbitrary pricing pulled out of thin air. It directly reflects the integration of highly specialized engineering and strict international compliance standards. Basically, you're paying for exact specs that are tailored to your specific environment.
All right, moving to Section 2, the 3 cost pillars, deconstructing the machine.
Okay, take a look at this 40 to 60% figure. The chassis alone accounts for roughly half of the total cost of the vehicle. So hands down, this makes the chassis the single most significant price driver in literally any quote you're going to receive. The foundation of the truck dictates the bulk of your investment.
And notice how this chassis market is divided up. On one side, you have Tier 1, your international brands like Isuzu and Iveco. Now, these come with a hefty 30 to 50% price premium, but you get premium global parts availability and really high resale value. On the flip side, we've got Tier 2. Think Dongfeng, Sinotruk, and Foton. These are your cost-efficient industrial workhorses. Actually, a Dongfeng chassis is often considered the absolute gold standard in African and Southeast Asian markets, simply because its simple mechanical maintenance makes it incredibly rugged and reliable.
Then we hit the second cost pillar, the upper body mechanism and capacity. And obviously, size dictates the base cost here. Small 3 to 5 cubic meter units are perfect for squeezing down narrow urban alleys. Medium, 8 to 12 cubic meter units, those are your standard for residential routes. And the large, 14 to 22 cubic meter units, handle the heavy-duty transfer stuff. But listen, it's not just about size, it's about the materials. Premium units use Q345 high-tensile manganese steel or Hardox equivalent wear-resistant plates. This is absolutely vital because it actually prevents the floor of the container from rusting out or warping under the intense pressure and moisture of wet organic waste. And that brings us to the third pillar, the hydraulic and automation systems. This brilliantly illustrates where an upfront investment really pays off. Generally, the speed of a compaction cycle is about 12 to 30 seconds. But if you spend just a little bit more on a premium PLC, that's a programmable logic controller. For one-button operation, and you spring for high-pressure hoses from top-tier brands like Parker or Rexroth, you will drastically reduce your operational downtime. Sure, it costs a bit more upfront, but it keeps that truck moving and working.
So how does this all add up? Section 3. Estimating your fleet cost using the 2024 pricing matrix. Let's walk through this matrix together. A rear loader compactor, right in that 6 to 10 cubic meter range, is going to run you about $22,000 to $45,000, and that's driven largely by the compaction ratio and those PLC systems we just talked about. A hook lift truck, that ranges from $18,000 to $55,000, depending entirely on its cylinder lifting capacity. Skip loaders sit between $15,000 and $35,000 based on the strength of the swing arm, and side loaders running $25,000 to $50,000, well, those are priced based on the complexity of the automated arm. So as you can see, each type has a very unique engineering demand that directly dictates its final price.
But definitely keep this in mind. Those base prices, they assume you're using a standard Euro 2 or Euro 3 emission chassis. If you are importing these to European or Middle Eastern markets, you've got to upgrade to Euro 5 or Euro 6 compliance. And adding that crucial premium is going to bump your base price up by about $3,000 to $8,000 per vehicle.
Okay, let's jump into Section 4, Hidden ROI Drivers. This is where we connect the engineering data sheet directly to your business outcomes. First up, we really need to understand the compaction ratio.
By definition, this is simply the volume of loosely packed waste compared to its volume after being compressed inside the truck. It sounds incredibly simple, right? But it is literally the absolute most important factor in maximizing your fleet's daily profitability.
And here is exactly why it matters so much. Standard, cheaper units might only offer a 2-to-1 or maybe a 3-to-1 compaction ratio. But high-efficiency units, they boast a 5-to-1 or even a 6-to-1 ratio. What does that actually mean out in the real world? It means a high-efficiency unit effectively carries twice the weight per trip compared to a bargain model. Twice the weight.
And the business outcome of that higher ratio? It literally halves your fuel and labor costs per ton of waste collected. Just by spending a little more upfront for a high-efficiency compactor, you completely transform your route logistics. You're doing fewer trips, you're burning way less fuel, and you're paying for fewer labor hours. It is a total game changer.
Another huge hidden driver is hydraulic pressure. Your standard systems are going to operate at about 16 to 18 megapascals, but high-performance units hit 20 to 22 megapascals. Now, this extra pressure is absolutely vital if you are crushing heavy industrial waste or construction debris. But here's the catch. You can't just arbitrarily crank up the pressure. Doing that requires reinforced domestic cylinders, like the ones from the top-tier brand Zhongmi, just to prevent the seals from blowing out under all that load.
Now, this next point is a silent killer for fleets. Waste is highly corrosive. Premium manufacturers know this, so they include electrophoretic painting, or E-coat for the chassis, and acid-resistant epoxy liners for the tank. If you get a quote that just seems surprisingly cheap, it's highly likely they completely skip these coatings. And skipping this step is a hidden cost bomb just waiting to explode. It often leads to severe rust within just 18 months of operation. You definitely do not want that.
All right, final section, Section 5, Navigating Procurement Logistics. Let's look at the actionable playbook to actually get these trucks delivered. So here are your 4 non-negotiable procurement steps. Number 1, verify chassis emission compliance for your local region. Number 2, lock in your drive configuration, left-hand drive or right-hand drive. Trying to convert this after the fact is financially unfeasible. Number 3, secure a 1 to 2 year spares package right up front. Air freighting wear parts like hydraulic seals later on is just prohibitively expensive. And number 4, demand a cycle test video. Make sure the factory actually runs the compactor 50 to 100 times under load before it ever gets loaded onto a ship. When we're talking about shipping realities, standard lead times usually hover around 20 to 30 days. But if you need a custom right-hand drive or a Euro 6 model, expect more like 45 to 60 days. As for shipping, these trucks usually travel via RoRo, that's roll-on/roll-off, or bulk carrier. But interestingly enough, smaller 3 to 5 cubic meter trucks can sometimes be entirely disassembled and packed into a 40-foot high-cube container to save you some serious freight costs. Oh, and yes, custom lifters for standard international bins are readily available. Before you finalize any deal, you've got to ensure you have the exact certifications needed so the vehicle can be legally registered when it arrives. You'll want to see ISO 9001 for factory quality. If you're importing to Europe, CE certification is absolutely mandatory. And for the chassis itself, you're often going to need WVTA, whole vehicle type approval, or GCC for the Middle East, just to make sure road registration is completely seamless. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to consider the next time you're looking at a quote. Are you actually paying for automatic seam welding, or are you just buying a leachate leak? Because when you see 2 quotes that differ by $10,000, the real difference is usually in the unseen details. It's the 6mm steel versus the 4mm, or the automatic welding that keeps toxic liquid off your city streets versus cheap manual spot welding. Use the insights from this explainer to deeply analyze your vendor quotes, look well beyond that sticker price, and secure the true value that your fleet actually deserves. Thanks so much for joining me today, and happy sourcing.